Before I start, my brothers and sisters, I want to take a brief moment to ask for your support for this channel. If you have not done so before, please consider subscribing, and even better, show your love for Disturbing Trends, or at least the channel by following the link to my Patreon page, and show your support by an even nominal sum of $1 or $2 a month, which, trust me, you won't miss. Plus, you'll be using your hard-earned cash to show your support for a righteous cause. Thank you in advance. Hello again, my dear friends. I reported to you earlier this month about the face covering ban in Denmark. Reading this obviously biased article online by Reuters, you would be forgiven if you thought that the Danish ban on covering the face was some harsh restriction against a religious minority. Well, if you remember the actual new law that will go into effect on August 1st, it is a face covering ban. This applies to anyone, in public that is, not in the privacy of your own space. It concerns only face covering, anything from ski masks to whatever obscures your face. What they will not tell you in this story is that everyone in Denmark is free to practice whatever religion or no religion that they choose. I will only repeat a small part of the points I made in my earlier video for those not familiar with some of the issues. It is reasonable and in line with freedom of expression and conscience and speech to disallow people from doing things that may put the rest of the country at risk. There are religious practices in parts of the world that would not be acceptable in a civilized Western democracy that is concerned for the rights of human beings. Child brides are just one example. Reuters says, crime or right? Some Danish Muslims to defy face veil ban. On August 1st, when face veils are banned in Denmark, Sabina, picture below, will not be leaving her niqab at home. Instead, she will be defying the law and taking to the street in protest. And there is Sabina. In May, the Danish parliament banned the wearing of face veils in public, joining France and some other European countries to uphold what some politicians say are secular and democratic values. But Sabina, 21, who is studying to be a teacher, has joined forces with other Muslim women who wear the veil to form Women in Dialog, to protest and raise awareness about why women should be allowed to express their identity in that way.
I do understand that some people find a niqab strange. I have totally respect for that. Because it is maybe something which is strange in this society. But in Denmark, we are taught to be free thinkers. We are taught to reflect, and we are taught to always find your own way and take that road. And that is exactly what I'm doing. No one in my family wears the niqab. No one told me to wear it. Like, ask my parents, and they'll probably say that it's best if I take it off. We are approximately about 50 women in Denmark who wear the niqab. And we are a minority within a minority. We are very few, and we have created this very tight and safe community for ourselves. And that just shows that the government is actually using money, using time and power to discriminate against 50 women. We created a Dialog, translated as Women in Dialogue, because we wished to have our own platform. We wished that we had a place where our voices could be heard, and that we could tell the truth about why we wear the niqab, because everyone has an opinion of why we wear it. Everyone has an opinion of how we live our lives, why we choose to wear it, and so on. But unfortunately, everyone talked about us, and no one actually talked to us or listened to us. It's not the norm here in Denmark to wear the niqab, so you stand out a lot when politicians speak in a very discriminating, racist, Islamophobic by rhetoric. I do feel that, or I fear that it will legitimize some hateful actions by some people. Even before the ban, but also like after. We have had people spit on us. We have multiple of niqab wearing women have their niqabs ripped off their faces. So we are victims of a lot of hate crimes. I think that that will be a big concern after the 1st of August. And other than that, suddenly as soon as I walk outside of my front door, I'm a criminal. And we have been criminalized for wearing our religious clothing and for believing what we do believe. I do not want to take off my niqab at all. I mean, because as said before, it is a part of my faith and it is a part of my identity. It is who I am.
She talks about being criminalized for her religious beliefs, and most people, including those that do not want face covering in public, believe it or not, do not want to criminalize religious beliefs. Emory Law writes about the burqa ban, an unreasonable limitation on religious freedom or a justifiable restriction, they ask. But this is a tricky issue, as they discuss here. To consider whether the burqa ban infringes on the rights of the women who wear them, one must weigh several competing factors. While the ban implicates important concern regarding the restriction of freedom of expression, many members of Western populations feel extreme discomfort in reaction to the veil. Similarly, while the ban implicates important freedom of religion concerns, many argue that because Islam does not even prescribe the practice of wearing the veil, a ban on wearing the veil does not infringe upon anyone's religious freedom. So, some argue, including most Muslim apologists, that the face covering or burqa is not even required by Islam, so not required as an act of faith, and like mentioned earlier, these public bans do not restrict people's rights to practice however they desire in non-public places. Sabina says, I won't take my niqab off. If I must take it off, I want to do it because it is a reflection of my own choice, she said. And I say, you live in Denmark, one of the most free and equal societies in the world. You have the freedom to follow its laws as they are democratically legislated. If you are not comfortable living under the rule of law in a place that guarantees you just about all the rights anyone could ever desire, then you have the freedom to move to somewhere that is more in line with restricting women's rights, a place where they would eagerly allow you to cover your face to your heart's content. Bear in mind that this society that you yearn to be in, if Denmark became one such place, then you would not have your freedom to express whatever interpretation of your religion, not only in public, but in private places. Some of the trade-offs of living in such an amazing free country is the expectation that you must follow their laws. The niqab wearers who plan to protest on August 1st will be joined by non-niqab wearing Muslim women and also non-Muslim Danes, most of whom plan to wear face coverings at the rally. That last group mentioned are probably third-wave intersectional feminists who likely think that Islam is the most feminist religion there is, and like the fake feminist Linda Sarsour here in the US, have no problem supporting the very symbol of patriarchal woman's oppression. Well, snap me down. They even go as far as saying that Islamic face coverings are empowering to women and that Sharia law is compatible with feminism. Yeah, right. Everybody wants to define what Danish values are, said Mariam, 20, who was born in Denmark to Turkish parents and has been wearing the niqab since before meeting her husband, who supports her right to wear it but feels life could be easier without. What a sane guy. What are those Danish values everyone is speaking of? The rights of women to have agency over their own lives? The rights for women to be able to go out of the home without a male escort? The right to not have to forcibly undergo female genital mutilation? Quaint notions such as these, you think? I believe that you have to integrate yourself in society, that you should get an education and so forth, but I don't think wearing a niqab means you can't engage yourself in Danish values. Mariam, who has a place to study molecular medicine at Aarhus University, said. Like Sabina, Mariam plans to defy the law, keep her niqab on, and protest against the ban. They believe that they have a right to practice their values in public. Human Rights Watch warns that some values are actually used to curtail human rights. For women upon whose shoulders the burden of upholding cultural norms and values often falls, traditional values can be a tool that curtails their human rights. Human Rights Watch has shown that such values are sometimes used to justify forced marriages in Afghanistan, virginity testing in Indonesia, honor crimes in Iraq, and marital rape in Kyrgyzstan. In Yemen, the abolition of the minimum marriage age on religious grounds in 1999 means that girls as young as 8 are married off to much older men, some of whom rape their prepubescent girl brides without legal consequence. Under the law, police will be able to instruct women to remove their veils or order them to leave public areas. Justice Minister Soren Pape Poulsen said officers would fine them and tell them to go home. Fines will range from 1,000 Danish crowns, about $160, for a first offense to 10,000 crowns for a fourth violation. I feel this law legitimizes acts of hatred, but on the other hand, I feel people have become more aware of what is going on. I get more smiles on the street and people are asking me more questions, say Aya 37. If this horrible free Western society enacting reasonable laws for the well-being for all its citizens is legitimizing hate crimes by protecting the populace, then you may want to inspect the terrible acts against women in Islamic countries under Sharia that are not considered hate crimes by their laws and customs. Matthias Vitus Olsen is supporting the campaign by making special bracelets and giving the proceeds to Kvinder I Dialog. I am not for or against the niqab, the 29-year-old Copenhagen man said. I'm for the right of the people to wear whatever they want, whether they be a Muslim or a punk. Then you must be shitting your pants over millions of women in parts of the world that do not have those same rights. I see this as the government reaching into places they don't belong and as a cheap hit on an already stigmatized group to score cheap political points. I want to offer some wise counsel to Matthias. If your sister moved to a country where forced head covering was a rule of law, would you be so agnostic about face veils? But more to the point, people all over the world immigrate to countries that have cultures and customs that are not similar to their own. The first assumption is that these people choose to move to these places, either for economic betterment for themselves and their families, or maybe for a better standard of living, or they're escaping some genocide or some horrible conditions. People that assimilate into those cultures tend to excel by refusing to accept the society that you have chosen to live in. Maybe stigmatization is on your own shoulders. Of course, I am not condoning or saying that it's proper to treat people badly, of course. But if your sister moved to Iran or Saudi Arabia, maybe she wouldn't have such a good time of it if she refused to adopt their customs. Unfortunately, ones that make her a second-class citizen with less rights than men. It's sort of a bad analogy because comparing places like Denmark with freedom for everyone enshrined in its laws is hardly comparable to countries that have the opposite as part of their legal system. I personally do not see Islam as an ideology that is compatible with free Western societies. As an atheist, I do respect the rights to religious freedom for everyone. I do not believe it's a right for one group of people to impose their beliefs and customs on others. That being said, it is also correct to obey the laws of the land you call home. Goodbye.